Good evening. The Jackson Public School Board meeting is now called to order. Board members, we have 4 members present, 5 members present. We have 4 members here in the boardroom, Ms. Hilliard, Mr. McGuffey, Mrs. Thompson, and we have Dr. Hairston on the phone. Therefore, we have a quorum. We have all had an opportunity to review the agenda. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda as presented?
So move.
Mrs. Thompson has moved. Dr. Harrison has seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The motion carries. And just like that, we are on to review the minutes. Is there a motion to approve the June 20th, 2023 regular board meeting minutes and the June 30th, 2023 special board meeting minutes?
So move.
Second.
Mrs. Thompson has moved. Mr. McGuffey has seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The motion carries. Before we move on to the superintendent's report, I do want to welcome Mr. Mitch McGuffey to the boardroom. This is actually his second meeting. The first was a special board meeting. He is here representing Ward 7, was appointed and confirmed, and is here succeeding Dr. Robbie Luckett. So, Mr. McGuffey, welcome. We look forward to...
Excited to be here.
We are excited to have you, and always grateful to have a full board. So with that, Dr. Graham, we'll move on to the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Dr. Sivak, and I too want to extend welcome to Mr. McGuffey. It's been a pleasure working with you as a member of the Bond Review Committee, and as a parent, committed and proud parent here in Jackson Public Schools. So excited to have you on the board, and the administration team and I are excited to get to work with you. With that, we'll go ahead and begin with our instructional television team that presents a video for highlights of the most recent happenings throughout JPS.
It is with confidence that we say you are ready to graduate and take on the world and your next steps.
Parents, family, and friends gathered at Forest Hill High School for a joyous evening of celebration, commemorating the achievements of the graduating JPS Summer School Scholars.
I'd like to acknowledge each of you parents and families who join us here tonight, who have invested so much along the way through your K-12 educational journey.
I go to Casey Elementary Performing Arts School.
In an incredible achievement, a talented 6-year-old Casey Elementary scholar has been crowned Miss Mississippi Elementary First Grade.
It's a big pageant based on community service.
This singing sensation and beauty queen moved forward to showcase her skills and to compete for the national crown. 41 JPS JROTC cadets attended William Carey University's Institute of Health Careers Camp, where they received hands-on experience and interacted with healthcare professionals. The camp offered over 20 concentrations in the medical industry, allowing cadets to explore a wide range of careers. It's time to register your child for the upcoming school year. Registration is now open at your child's school site from 8:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. Please ensure you bring 2 valid proof of residency along with your ID for registration. To ensure your child's smooth transition into the new school year, be sure to register before the close of business day on August 2nd. By doing so, your child will be fully enrolled in the school bus program and guaranteed transportation for the first week of school. The Jackson Public School District is pleased to welcome Mitch McGuffey as the newest member of the Board of Trustees. With a strong professional background in law and as a devoted husband and father of 3, 2 of whom are scholars within the JPS School District, Mr. McGuffey brings a valuable expertise and a personal investment in our community. He will be filling the vacancy in Ward 7, ensuring continued dedication to the district's success. For more information about Jackson Public Schools, please visit our website at jackson.k12.ms.us. Follow us on Facebook at Jackson Public Schools, on Instagram at JPS Student Voices, on Twitter at JPS District, Comcast Channels 18 and 19, and YouTube at youtube.com/JPSITV.
I want to thank the team for their work in pulling together those video updates. Again, I want to just take a moment and congratulate all of our summer graduates. Although they needed just a little more time, they are considered graduates along with their cohorts. And so I extend my thanks and appreciation to our team members who helped to get them across that graduation finish line, and of course to each of the graduates, just knowing that they will continue to strive for the best and to achieve all the goals that they set for themselves. As you mentioned, and as we've discussed over the past few months, board members, we are continuing our efforts around registration. As of July the 15th, we had 9,241 scholars registered for the 23-24 school year. We encourage and continue to encourage all of our parents and guardians who still need to complete registration to do so, either by visiting their schools, their scholar's school, or using Active Parent to complete the registration process. And there's information on our website, there's information here tonight, and of course they can always reach out to their school for assistance if they need it. This is really important, as we've stated previously, actually several times before. It's really important for our planning processes and purposes that around staffing and facilities and supplies and equipment, all of those sorts of things. But it's also really important this year as we're striving to ensure that we've got a stronger start with our transportation, and so as such, we are requiring that scholars be enrolled or registered by close of business on August the 2nd in order to have transportation for the first week of school. In times past, we've just tried to make do, and there's a lot of confusion that's caused when we don't have scholars enrolled and don't have them assigned to a bus, and we don't know the numbers of scholars who will be on particular buses and routes. And so we just want to do better this year. And so we are requiring that scholars be enrolled by no later than close of business on August the 2nd in order to have transportation that first week. Now, if they enroll after that, we'll get them set up as quickly as possible. We just can't guarantee that they will have transportation in that first week. And we think that's fair. To help to support and encourage registration, we have brought back, this year we brought back our office team members at each of our schools. We brought them back a little early to support families with any registration needs, and I believe we've stated this previously, we've been providing some incentives to families. We've had some raffles and that sort of thing. We raffled off bikes or scooters or something, I believe, at one point, some a Fitbit. We raffled off, I think, some gift cards to grocery stores or Walmart or Target or whatever. I believe we've raffled some televisions in the past, so there'll be more prizes raffled off this Friday. And so we'll host the final registration raffle this Friday at 4:30, this Friday the 21st of July at 4:30. Any parent who has completed registration up to this point by noon on July the 21st, any parent, even if they did it early, any parent who's completed registration by noon on the 21st will be entered to win, a chance to win a gift card or a TV or some other prizes. Of course, previous winners are excluded. I'm going to make sure that we include that little fine print there. All right, moving on. Board members, you know we've been working to try to ready ourselves and condition ourselves to support the thoughtful repurposing of our facilities. And so I'm excited to announce that we have launched on our website a page to help to promote the reuse and redevelopment of our surplus school sites. Our primary goal, of course, is to revitalize those properties and transform them into valuable assets that contribute to the growth and prosperity of our Jackson neighborhoods and, of course, of our school district. You can find the page for our Jackson Facilities Repurposing Initiative. You can find that page by going to our website and at the home page, clicking on About Us, and then from there, clicking on the JPS Repurposing Initiative. And from there, the site provides, or the page provides, pictures of our various facilities, along with information about those facilities, the size of the facility, and some of the other useful information there. And there's also information to contact us if folks might be interested in following up or want to talk about a potential use of the property or any of that. So we're excited to get that information out there. This is an idea that we gathered from one of our peers, I believe in Kansas City, through some communications with them and with actually brokered through our relationship with Roy Decker, with Duval Decker, as they've done some planning with us. And so they've been gracious enough to connect us with some other school districts who have been doing similar work and rethinking their properties and just looking for ways to engage with the community on the greater good. So excited about that. More to come, but wanted to share that information. Kudos to all of our team members and scholars who were engaged in our A3 summer programming. We're so excited for the experiences that our scholars had there. We had more than 2,000 scholars engaged over this summer. And we're also excited that I believe even now and over the next week or so, we will host summer bridge programs, especially for pre-K and for our middle school scholars. We're just really trying to ensure that they have a strong start, that they have a positive start, that we're building the relationships necessary, and also setting expectations for scholars and for families as we prepare for this next year, which we are sure will be yet another banner year. As a reminder, we are calling on all community members to join us Friday, July the 28th. It's not this Friday, but the following Friday from 7 a.m. until 12 p.m. We will have our annual Beautification Day. Lots of projects for folks to get involved with at each and every one of our schools. Every school in Jackson Public Schools will have some projects happening, whether it's beautifying the entrance or helping teachers to set up their classrooms or setting up bulletin boards in the hallways, or there may even be some painting, some art activities, murals and that sort of thing, all kinds of wonderful projects. So we invite everyone to join us. It's just a wonderful time to wrap our arms around our schools. Board members, thank you. I want to say thank you on behalf of all of our team members for investing in our team members and for the significant pay increases that you approved last month. We are very excited to have that level of increased investment, additional investment, and show of appreciation for what our JPS team members are doing. And we're excited to see increased interest in our district. And so we're already seeing some additional applicants for various roles, and especially for our classified roles. So thank you so much for your, yes, indeed, thank you. Thank you so much for that. Lastly, and speaking of staffing, I want to invite our JPS recruiter, Dr. Tommy Knowles, who will join us and provide a brief staffing update as we prepare for the next year. As you know, our Office of Human Resources is committed to excellence and dedicated to meeting our employees' needs while also recruiting new talent to help us provide scholars with quality education. And so excited to have Dr. Knowles to share just where we are right now with staffing.
All right. Good evening, Dr. Green, President CVAC, members of the board. Again, my name is Tommy Knowles, and I work as the Director of Recruitment, along with my Executive Director, Sandra Lyons, and Personnel Director, Stephanie Nelson. And I just wanted to provide a brief report on staffing for, as it stands currently for July 2023. So always, our staffing goals is to try to get the district as close to 100% staff as we can, especially prior to the beginning of the school year, and to make sure that we have a certified teacher in every JPS classroom by the start of the year. We also look to establish and maintain initiatives that we have in place to recruit and retain certified applicants, particularly in the areas of high needs, such as elementary ed, mathematics, and then special education. So as of Monday, July 17th, and I'll pull these figures right at the end of the workday, so right before 5 o'clock. We have a total of 3,459 total positions, so this includes classified, certified, as well as everyone that's paid on the administrator scale, including our building principals, assistant principals, and executive staff, with a total of 637 vacancies. So 305 of those are in the classified positions, 291 certified, and then 41 on the admin side, giving us a district-wide staffing percentage currently of 81.6%. When we look specifically at our teachers, we have 1,466 teaching positions. Of those, 257 are currently vacant, giving us a district-wide teacher staffing percentage of 82.5%. And then, of course, looking at teacher assistants, 274 positions with 55 vacancies, gives us a percentage of about 79.9%. So when we look at our critical areas, which are considered our major areas of need, those critical areas make up about 69% of our teacher vacancies. So not district-wide vacancies, but just of that 1,466, 69% of that number is made up of vacancies in hard-to-staff areas. So elementary currently holds 82 vacancies, and this is from kindergarten through 5th grade. Pre-K has 17, mathematics with 21, and then exceptional ed has 34, which includes 5 vacancies at the gifted level. And then all of our science vacancies combined for elementary, middle, and high consists of about 24 vacancies. So as it relates to certified staffing vacancies in the trend, from 2019 up till now, we have been consistently in the month of July, been around 83, 84, 85, 86% around this time of the year. Of course, July 13, 2021 is an outlier year. That was a year post-COVID when the State Department automatically reissued licenses for teachers within the district, and it allowed us to be able to retain and offer contracts to teachers at a much earlier rate than we normally do. So currently right now, we're at about 83.2% for all certified positions. So this is not just teachers, but it also includes our counselors, librarians, certified non-instructional staff, as well as our certified instructional staff, absent of our school administrators, assistant principals, and principals. And just for a point of reference, when we began the school year, this past year, August 3rd, 2022, we were at right about 91.1% staff. So before I walked over here today, had a meeting with Ms. Lyons, my executive director, and she informed me that we had processed a bulk of paperwork, which will, of course, greatly reduce these numbers. So naturally, over the next couple of weeks, as we get ready to gear for school, we expect for these numbers to come down quickly, as they normally do. So what are some of the things that we are currently doing in order to close the certified vacancy gap? Well, one of the things that we are looking at now is especially renewal of expired standard teacher licenses. So we had quite a few educators that were in the process of renewing their licenses. Once July 1st hit, all of those licenses expired. So we pulled that report from the agency, but once they turn the clock or they move on to the new year, then those numbers go away. But the educators who, now that their license have expired, if they have not renewed their license yet, they're automatically eligible for a 1-year reinstatement. And so that allows them at least 1 year to work under contract with us while they meet the CEU requirements in order to fully renew their licenses and be retained within the district. We also are still utilizing district requested licenses, which are provisional licenses for teachers. Right now, we've only requested 236. Just as a point of reference, when I first got in this position, we were requesting close to 450, 500 of these district requested licenses. So we've greatly reduced the number of requested licenses that we need. In 2021, you see we requested 390, 1920, 241, and of the 236, we currently have about 87 licenses that are pending reviewed. The other ones have already been approved and contracts have been issued for those teachers. Some of the current projects and initiatives that we're still working on, of course, we are utilizing the Mississippi Teacher Residency Program. We have 12 candidates that have been onboarded and have been placed in elementary teaching positions that are awaiting certification. So once they get those licenses, that'll impact our numbers as well. We're also launching our in-district residency this year, which is 10 slots for teacher assistants that we'll be working with over the next couple of years to convert them into certified elementary teachers. We're also this year focusing on international teacher recruitment to help address the need in some of our critical need areas such as mathematics and science. Right now we are slated to recruit about 35 of those teachers, 25 going to the high school mainly for mathematics, and we're also adding 10 all mathematics teachers headed to the middle school division. And of course we are still utilizing our recruitment incentives where we offer up to $10,000 for hard to staff areas in special education, pre-K, elementary ed, mathematics, and of course our career and technical areas. And so these bonuses are divided up into 6 disbursements over 3 years, so it has that retention component built in. And we are still utilizing these to help recruit and retain teachers here within the district.
Thank you for that very detailed report. You know, we are always interested in that because we know that all of these babies need to be taught, and that is a concern that we have, that certified persons are, that persons who are teaching them are actually qualified to do so. We want JPS to have the best always. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
You had a question? I have a question about the ones that I guess their certifications ended June 30th and they can get an extension. What's the process? Like, in other words, do we have someone that's like helping remind them and let them know your deadline is coming up and these are the steps you need to do, or something like that?
Absolutely, yes, ma'am. So that would be me and my team. What we do is around September, after we've kind of, the dust has settled from the start of school, we have everybody pretty much where we believe they'll be. We go in and we pull that report from the State Department showing where their licenses are expiring, and we create letters that we send out to them both electronically and physically to the school sites to let the teachers know that, hey, these endorsements on your certification are expiring this year. We connect them with our Office of Teaching and Learning and various agencies across the area that offer CEUs, continuing education units, for them to be able to renew their certifications. And then we just periodically remind them as our numbers improve or dwindle, those that are kind of a little late to the party, we let them know, hey, it's now January, still hadn't received your license, here's some more opportunities for you to get your CEU so that you can renew. And then around this time of the year, or in June, we notify them, if they haven't earned their CEUs, that the reinstatement process is coming. The only thing is that they can't apply for reinstatement until the license is actually expired, so they have to wait until we come back from the Independence Day holiday before they can actually put in the request, and then the MDE processes them.
So another question would be then, what are the obstacles or the challenges from getting it done and letting it expire?
I'm trying not to.
Honesty.
Yeah, I just, part of it is, just getting the educator to kind of do it. Many of them have the units, but they just don't take the time to go in to submit the application. Many of them don't know where the resources are. CEUs do, they have to be paid for, so some of them have to acquire or obtain the funds in order to do so. But like many people, it's a last minute thing for them. They teach all the way up to the last minute, and then when they realize they need the license in order to retain the position, then they're scrambling at the last minute to try to get it. So we remind them, we provide the resources, we let them know, where everything is. We try to keep them informed and kind of bring the horse to water, so to speak, but it's up to them to drink. So
I got you. Are there any resources, like for those that do have financial challenges, for the CEUs?
It's not something that I've specifically explored in that regard, but it's definitely something that we can take a look at and have conversations about to see, how we can support those teachers that may need that.
Good question.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mrs. Thompson. Thank you. I have a question about the incentives, and I know we're actually bonuses is not we're not supposed to call them bonuses. Apparently, bonuses are illegal. But that's not what my question is about. My question is about, so there's definitely a pattern around the positions that emerge year after year after year of being vacant. And so we have the incentives that are there to, as a way to incentivize people to come teach in those positions. Are the incentives, the way they're currently structured, effective? Do they need to be higher? Do they need to be, has there been any analysis of them as a tool for filling those slots?
Analysis of effectiveness, we have not yet done, trying to figure out how we can judge the effectiveness of it. So I can give you numbers. Last year, we employed 86 teachers that were receiving an incentive, whether it was critical, hard to staff, or the CTE. Of those numbers, we had about 12 that fulfilled the obligation, which means we still have about 70 or so teachers that are remaining with the district to honor their obligation for the bonus. So I think to be able to retain 70 in critical need areas by that kind of very basic analysis of the signing bonus, I would assume or say that's effective. That's 70 teachers that we know are remaining in those critical subject areas, at least for the next 2 years, with the opportunity to be able to recruit more. I don't know anybody that would turn down an opportunity to get more money, but I personally would like to see this play out at least for the next 2 years to see if the numbers that we had, let's say this past school year, are similar or greater based on the incentives that we offer. So some of the feedback that I've received from attending fairs and having conversations across the state with other with educators is that many of them didn't know. They say that we didn't know that JPS was offering those bonuses. So we advertise at every recruitment fair. We talk about it, when we are advertising local radio. When I go have the opportunity to go and speak about things, I make sure that I include the incentives. So it may just be an issue of finding more creative ways to get the word out and advertise about the incentive to potentially attract more candidates. So.
Oh, that's helpful. And do we know, do surrounding districts do the same thing?
Not like we do. So not to the effect or to the amounts even that we offer for certain areas. But yeah, we as a district, I think, are leading the way, so to speak, as it relates to the recruitment incentives and in the way that we use them.
Okay, thank you.
I have a quick follow-on question on the incentives piece. So I saw it's tied to like 3-year contracts.
Mm-hmm.
Have we seen? I have kind of two questions. Have we seen? Do we have enough time in that process to know whether we're able to sort of keep people on after that 3-year commitment? That's sort of one piece. And the second question I would ask is, have we seen? Do people break that contract? And do we have a way? I mean, so at my firm, if you have a signing bonus, it's paid every year, and if you leave after 6 months, you owe us half back, right? It's paid out up front. I know we're paying that incrementally, but I just wondered if we're seeing people walk away from that or anything like that.
Not in the way that you probably would think. A lot of the teachers, if they're working on the recruitment incentive, they're receiving an incentive. Many of them are getting promotions. So they may get promoted to an interventionist position or an assistant principal position in that regard. And as a result of them moving out of a position that's considered the critical need area, then they lose it that way.
Right.
I I can recall only 2 that I know of that actually, received the first year and ended up leaving. So it's not many of the people that get it. They are, or just in general, many of the people that come and work for Jackson Public Schools are embedded within our communities and our schools. A lot of the people that are receiving it are individuals who may not have been properly certified in the beginning. We help them get certified in the areas where we're needed, and then we incentivize them to stay by offering them the bonus. And so what we can do though, is go back and take a look at the individuals who have received the bonus that are no longer under the obligation to see how many of those individuals have remained with the district afterwards and provide that data.
Yeah, I've got several thoughts on this. I am happy to go back with the team and think some more about measuring the effectiveness of the bonus.
Incentives.
I just said it, Jesus, and I've been sitting here judging you for a second, judging you, like seriously judging, and I just said it, of the incentive, and just thinking about how we rethink that. I mean, there's been a conversation around retention incentives, and so just let us go back and give it some more thought. I think the challenge with judging, assessing the effectiveness of it is that it's often, right, it's not one thing. Are you working with a school leader that you respect and who you believe treats you with respect? Are you getting the kind of support that you need? So you got the incentive, but what about the professional development and coaching, in the way that you can respond to it, right? It's not, are you getting or not? You're getting it for sure if you work for Jackson Public Schools. But is it hitting the right chord with you? And some other things that I could lift up is kind of oftentimes the reasons or the conversation that you hear when folks are considering leaving a post. But I also receive and appreciate the question around, are folks staying beyond the 3 years of their commitment? Which obviously you want to see that, but where we've got 40 plus, and I don't know where we are today, but typically 40+% of our teachers who are new and novice, even that 3 years kind of gets us a couple of years beyond where many of our teachers are. I don't want to set a low bar, but just kind of being real about where we are and the challenges that we experience. Having at least the 3 years with someone is better than what we experience in other places.
I do just want to kind of piggyback on something that Ms. Thompson said as well. To the extent we can look at ways, kind of explore ways for having reimbursement processes or something like that for CEUs, the fewer impediments. I mean, we deal with CLE in my work, and the fewer impediments you can have, remove as many as you can, right? Like you said, you can lead a horse to water, you can't make it drink, but make it as easy a path as possible. That might be helpful. So.
Yes, I receive that. I'm going to ask the team to take a note on that. We'll come back around with that piece, but also to talk about all of the professional development that we provide or make accessible to folks, for which you don't have to pay. And so it really is about, like, this is your professional duty to submit the paperwork that we paid for and provided you release time to experience, submit it to get your license.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's a number of people, even administrators. It's a number of people, and we provide for principals and APs. Well, any of the leadership certified people, we provide, I believe, enough development experiences to where you don't have to go anywhere else. Submit the paperwork to Mississippi Department of Education. So I do receive, though, are there impediments that we can continue to remove to support people in getting there? Yeah, it's a real challenge.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Knowles.
And with that, board members, I complete the remarks for this evening. turn it back to you, Dr. Sivak.
Great, thank you, Dr. Green. All right, next on our agenda, we have public participation. We do not have any signed up for public comment. I just remind the public that community members who would like to make public comment should email their request to Ms. Rosalind Williams at roswilliams@jackson.k12.ms.us no later than 4 p.m. on the day of the meeting, or to appear in person in the boardroom no later than 5:15 p.m. on the day of the meeting. Board members, before we move on to information action items, I want to just take a moment. We're in a new year, year for the board. In the last board meeting, we elected officers, so I wanted to use this first board meeting in the new term to announce committee assignments. And so the board has two committees. We have a policy committee and a budget committee. And so the policy committee will continue to be chaired by Dr. Jean Hairston. She will be joined by Mrs. Letitia Johnson, Mr. Mitch McGuffey, and Mrs. Cynthia Thompson on the committee. And on the budget committee, Ms. Hilliard, myself, and Mr. Figures will remain on that committee. I will be stepping down from chairing the budget committee. Mr. Figures has agreed to step up and to chair that committee. We will continue to invite all board members to all of the committee meetings. So board members, Ms. Williams will reach out and schedule around committee members, but board members will receive notifications so that they can, anyone who wants to attend and is available to attend can attend. So that is the update for our committee assignments. So next we will move on to information action items. The first request, and board members, this was one that was not in our board packet. However, it is one of the most popular items we get to approve, so I shared with Ms. Williams it was okay to put on here. And so our General Counsel, Attorney Harris, will give us the update.
Newlywed.
Thank you. Good evening, Board President Dr. Sivak, board members, Superintendent Dr. Green. The Office of the General Counsel recommends that the Jackson Public School District Board of Trustees approve the grant agreement between the Equal Justice Initiative and the Jackson Public School District on behalf of its Career Development Center. The Career Development Center applied for and was awarded the Legacy Scholars Grant for 50 students and 5 chaperones to attend the Legacy Museum from enslavement to mass incarceration, and the National Memorial for Peace and Justice in Montgomery, Alabama. The board has approved several of these grants for other students to attend previously, and we're happy to continue to present these to the board for approval. The amount of this grant award is $4,825, and the students will be attending on September the 15th, 2023. Any questions?
Thank you, Attorney Harris. Board members, any questions? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
I so move.
Second.
Mrs. Thompson has moved, Ms. Hilliard has seconded. All in favor? Aye. The motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Harris. The next two items will be presented by Dr. Knowles, so we'll take them up together. The first is a recommendation to approve and ratify the agreement between the Jackson Public School District and Fulton County School District and the Jackson Public School District and Cleveland Heights University Cleveland Heights University City School District in connection with the teacher and school leader incentive. Dr. Knowles.
Hello again. The administration is recommending for approval and ratification of the Memorandum of Understanding between Jackson Public School District and Fulton County School District, and the Memorandum of Understanding between Jackson Public School District and Cleveland Heights University Heights City School District in connection with the Teacher and School Leader Incentive Program grant application. The execution of this agreement is contingent upon being awarded the grant, which will be for the 23-24, 24-25, and 25-26 school years. The only change is that Fulton County Schools and Cleveland Heights University Heights City School District removes item G and H under Section 5 additional terms from the Memorandum of Understanding that stated intentionally omitted. Syracuse City School District, who was identified as a potential partner, decided not to enter into the agreement.
Thank you, Dr. Knowles. Board members, are there any questions about this opportunity? Hearing none, Dr. Knowles will present the request to approve the agreement between the University of Texas at Arlington and Jackson Public School District. Dr. Knowles.
Thank you. The administration is recommending to the board that the University of Texas at Arlington School of Social Work be contracted to provide clinical experience through student teaching and internship in the Jackson Public School District during the 2023 through 2026 fall and spring semesters. So this is a first-time agreement to provide University of Texas at Arlington an opportunity to allow student teachers in their School of Social Work the opportunity for hands-on teaching, learning, and practical classroom and virtual classroom experiences with a district teacher. And we currently have one request for a student intern for this fall.
Thank you, Dr. Knowles. Board members, are there any questions about this agreement? Very timely, given the report. Thank you, Dr. Knowles. Board members, is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second.
Mr. McGuffey has moved. Mrs. Thompson has seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And that was for items B and C. Thank you. Next, we'll invite Dr. Cormack up. He will present items D, E, and F. We'll take them up together. The first request is to approve the revised principal and assistant principal salary schedule. Dr. Cormack.
Good evening, Dr. Sivak, Dr. Green, members of the board, and our JPS colleagues. The administration recommends that the board approve the revised principal and assistant principal salary schedule to include the role of the Dean of Students on the assistant principal salary schedule. In consultation with our COO and Chief of Staff, our office is recommending this change because the role requires a comparable level of education and a 486 administrative endorsement from the Mississippi Department of Education.
Thank you, Dr. Cormack. Board members, are there any questions? I just have one. So is the Dean of Students now, will that position be available at elementary, middle, and high school?
It is available at each of the levels. However, currently, secondary schools have prioritized the role.
Okay. That makes sense. Thank you. Any additional questions? Hearing none, the next request is to approve the grant agreement between Save the Music Foundation and the Jackson Public School District. Dr. Cormack.
We are excited to bring this forward. The administration is recommending the approval of a grant agreement between the Save the Music Foundation Incorporated and Jackson Public Schools. In concert with our commitment of joyful learning environments, the Save the Music Foundation is awarding 11 Jackson Public Schools elementary schools with a grant to support elementary music programming and instruction. This grant includes $22,000 worth of musical equipment, Orff instruments and boom whackers, a classroom set of ukuleles, method books, and program support for the duration of the grant, and we urge your support. There are presently 6 schools, JPS schools, that received the grant last year, and the goal is to continue to grow this program pending availability of funding from the foundation.
Thank you, Dr. Cormack. Board members, are there any questions? I do have one question. So I know we currently have an agreement with Save the Music, and that we have instruments in a number of our schools. I also know, so Baker, GN Smith, Isabel, North Jackson, Pecan Park, and Sykes. So obviously we've got some movement from scholars from some of those schools based on recent consolidation and renovation activity. Will the instruments follow the students?
Yes, sir. So as you mentioned, given the context of school construction and relocations, I sat with our assistant superintendent team for elementary and with those principals that have received the grant. In addition to relocating personnel, like the music teacher as a great example, at Isabel, who received the initial grant for last year, those instruments were shipped to Marshall to continue the program to follow the scholars. And then other receiving schools became eligible for the grant if they met the other criteria. One of the things that the Save the Music Foundation is committed to is shoring up music programs, and so as a condition of receipt of those instruments, they ask that we ensure that there's a full-time music educator, that there's sufficient space to locate and to store the instruments and to preserve them, and that also that the instruction happens in a traditional classroom. And so we've shared that criteria with all principals, and pending availability and that full-time music teacher in each elementary site, they become eligible. And so where that was possible, we shipped the instruments to follow the scholars and then made other schools available to receive the grant.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Cormack. Next, we have the request to approve the agreement between the Jobs for Mississippi Graduates and the Jackson Public School District.
Presenting this item on behalf of Ms. Marshall Thomas for the high school division, the administration is recommending the approval of the Jobs for Mississippi Graduates program. Board members, Ms. Williams is sharing some additional supplemental information that you will receive on the outcomes for the Jobs for Mississippi Graduates, but this is a program that supports each of our high schools and high school programs to equip scholars who are interested in pursuing career paths, job placement, and supports in job placement. And so some of the exciting outcomes are presented in your supplemental materials, which outline the supports of this particular program and its efficacy in matching our scholars who want to move directly into work to do so.
Thank you, Dr. Cormack. Board members, are there any questions? Dr. Cormack, were there any outcomes that really stood out as ones that really underscore the effectiveness of the program and the way it's making a difference for our scholars?
So one of the things that I really appreciate is the breakdown of job placements and where our Jobs for Mississippi Graduate students, the placement supports are really essential and pivotal. They work with a number of Chamber of Commerce programs to identify roles that our scholars will be eligible for. And as part of our E3 focus, which is a focus around employment, post-secondary success in terms of enrollment in college, and enlistment, this is a vital strategy in supporting enlistment and employment opportunities for our scholars. You'll note, if you look with me on, I believe it's page 12 in the addendum, you'll see that in terms of positive outcomes, they give a breakout of placements, both military service and then post-secondary programming that requires a credential or may not require a credential. And so just offering scholars multiple pathways to success and gainful employment is really important, and this program is a vital piece of that strategy.
Thank you.
It's not 12.
I'm sorry, it was a 1 of 2 on the addendum. I misread that as 12.
Can I ask how, what's the process for kind of getting plugged into this program for the on the scholars end? How do they get identified? How do they join?
Yeah, so there are various vehicles. Right now, there is a college and career readiness course that we piloted and now is a requirement of graduation. In that course, scholars who may not be on a college track but who are identified as desiring to have support around post-secondary success and job placement then get paired with the program. And so each of our scholars completes a success plan, and it details where they have potential aptitude and interest. And then as part of that college and career readiness course, they get the supports around particular fields that might be a good pairing for entry-level work that requires a diploma but may not require certification, or pathway programs that might pair them with a Hines Community College option, programs and tracks that lead to certification that will require a few months of study. But it's a really a focused program to meet the individual needs of the scholar that they've identified as both interest and aptitude.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Cormack. All right, board members, is there a motion to approve items D, E, and F?
Motion.
Second.
Mr. McGuffey has moved, Mrs. Thompson has seconded. All in favor? Aye. The motion carries. Thank you, Dr. Cormick. Next, we have the request to approve the agreement between the College Board and the Jackson Public School District. Dr. Moore, our Executive Director of Advanced Academics, will present this information. Dr. Moore, I'd just like to congratulate you on the appointment to the new position.
Thank you, sir.
You're
Dr.
welcome.
Seebeck, Dr. Green, members of the board, the administration recommends the approval of the memorandum of understanding with the College Board and Jackson Public School District to offer pre-AP and college-approved curricular programming and professional development in our schools. With the board approval of this contract, the district will offer a 3-day intensive training for AP and pre-AP teachers and a 1-day module for school leaders and AP coordinators. The district has also approved a professional development calendar where we'll be using some of those days to assist with development of teachers and making sure we receive focused development during those particular trainings.
Thank you, Dr. Moore. Board members, are there any questions? And Dr. Moore, I do have a couple of questions. I think over the last several years we've seen interest and enrollment in AP courses increase. What's your sense of how our scholars are doing in terms of scoring 3, 4s, and 5s, where those courses potentially translate into college credit?
With the data that we have, the most recent data that we have is from 21-22 school year. The 22-23 school data will not come out. Somewhere around September we'll see that. But in looking at the analysis of that particular data, we are seeing an enrollment increase in terms of the number of scholars who are taking those tests, which shows that students are really getting into it in terms of, especially since the dips that we saw due to COVID. So we've saw over the last 5 years an increase in the number of scholars taking those tests, as well as the number of scholars that have performed in terms of scoring a 3, 4, and a 5. So we are seeing some increases in some areas. We've seen about, in 1 year we had maybe about 70 passes, and then the next year we had about 102. So we are seeing increases, but we want to make sure this professional development, because AP and College Board provides those testing, this will be the first time the district has entered into an agreement with them to have that professional development to teachers. So we think that alignment of professional development that's coming from that corporation will also increase the performance, because teachers will be better prepared to provide instruction to scholars.
Is there any, and so what's your sense of amongst the teacher corps that are teaching, that are offering AP courses, largely veteran teachers, or is it new teachers for whom the professional development is going to make a big difference? Is there any peer learning from other teachers who've excelled from in AP instruction?
I think as we looked at, due to COVID, MD relaxed its expectations on teachers to be certified to do that. So I think the doors have been open in terms of those particular teachers that provide that. So with that, I think this our approach to make sure that teachers then have some source of development that can match and make sure that we're having high quality instruction and rigorous instruction that matches our strategic plan for innovative teaching to ensure that takes place.
And Dr. Seebeck, I'll add a few more points to that. Couple of things. One, for far too long, these AP courses have been seen as the prime courses and relegated to only the folks who have the greatest seniority and all of that sort of thing. And so I'm actually excited to see, aligned with just the seniority level or experience level of many of our teachers. I'm excited to see more, a broader range of teachers teaching the AP courses. But the data is pretty clear. We've still got a long way to go in terms of getting scholars ready to pass the exams. I am excited, and excited that there's a broader level of support for getting more of our scholars into the courses. But that's not the end. The end is getting them into the course and ensuring that they're successful in the course. I'll also name, just because it's important, I think, to all of us, that there's still a level of an equity issue in terms of course availability and opportunities for scholars across schools, and so we'll be working to ensure that that's addressed as well. But as we've worked really hard to stand up the courses, many more courses, I would say, across the district. We've got this other piece, as Dr. Moore is stating, to ensure that whether it's, for whomever, it's the folks who've been teaching for a while and their kids are not passing the courses, the exams, or those who are new and their kids are not necessarily passing the exams, just to ensure that everyone understands what excellence looks like, and that we're tracking along the way and not surprised on the tail end once the exams have been given, that our scholars were not necessarily ready. And so lots more work to do in this area.
Well, thank you for that, Dr. Green. And then my final question is around just alignment with tested subjects in high school. And so, obviously stakes are high when you're teaching in a tested subject. And there are instances where, I'm thinking of history, for example, where it's a tested subject. It's high stakes on getting those 4s and 5s on the history exam. And for a group of students, their instruction was in the AP course. How do we thread the needle between the instruction that gets us to the 4s and 5s for the state exam and the 4s and 5s on the AP exam?
So just to provide a little context, you're referencing, particularly with U.S. history, for instance. So one of the tools that our Office of Teaching and Learning has done is to help align the pacing. We believe that scholars that receive the AP U.S. history will be well prepared to pass the state exam. The AP exam is much more rigorous than the state exam. However, we have seen issues of content alignment and pacing, such that when we're doing a benchmark examination, it takes a little bit more time, given the depth of coverage of the AP exam, for our scholars to be able to perform. And so it is a bit of a balancing act, but we've looked critically at the alignment of the pacing, the content, and do believe that when our scholars sit for that exam, we'll have strong evidence that they, achieve success. So we encourage them to follow the AP pacing, but to understand that there may be content that they see along the way on benchmarks that don't align precisely with the regular coursework. And that's just a message that we send to the students and also to the teachers to continue to follow the pacing so that we can align those expectations. I think when our data is on embargo, we'll be able to go into greater detail and to share with you just the outcomes of how that's panned out this year.
Thanks. That's very helpful, and it's clear you're looking at it. So thank you.
Yes.
Okay, board members, any other questions? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Mrs. Thompson has moved. Ms. Hilliard has seconded. All in favor? Aye. The motion carries. Thank you, Dr. Moore.
Thank you.
Next, we have the request to approve the professional development and coaching support for teachers, schools, and district leaders. Dr. Regina Scott, our Executive Director of School Support, will present this information.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Board President Dr. Sivak, Superintendent Dr. Green, board members. The administration recommends approval of the lead partner contract in response to RFP 2023-09, professional development and coaching support for school and/or district leaders to EduService Incorporated, CT3, to provide leadership coaching and to build the instructional leadership and management capacity within schools and across the district. The administration also recommends approval of the lead partner contracts in response to RFP 2023-10, professional development and coaching support to teachers to EduService Incorporated, CT3, for real-time teacher coaching, Pamela M. Franklin, LLC, for math support at Smith Elementary, Kids First Education, LLC, for English Language Arts, English Learner, Exceptional Ed, and pre-kindergarten through second grade integrated support in ELA, math, science, and social studies. And lastly, to the Kirkland Group for math, algebra, science, biology, and/or history support.
Great, thank you, Dr. Scott. Board members, are there any questions? Dr. Scott, you provided some, what I think is exciting data around the lead partners. And so I know in the past when lead partner contracts have come before the board, we've pushed the district administration to provide those data. Could you just provide some examples of the information that you shared with us that really underscores the impact that these lead partners are making and why we're continuing to work with them?
Yes. So I'll start with EduService Incorporated CT3. The impact on that data when it comes to the percent of students on task when observed, 30% of those students were on task when observed by the CT3 coaches. That was an increase of 30% students on task. Let me go back because I think I might have said that backwards. So when it comes to observing students by the CT3 coaches, there was an increase of 30% of those students on task. And then when they were observed by the principals, that was an increase of 18%. So we had two different data points for students being on task there. When it comes to suspensions, there was a decrease overall of 60% of all schools that received support from CT3. And then when we look at those schools that were returning, that had received at least 1 year of service, that increased to 73%. There was a decrease of 73% for those students when it comes to suspensions. And then lastly, when we look at previous year, the school year 21-22 accountability data, 7 out of the 8 elementary schools that received services from CT3 made progress and moved at least 1 letter grade. And we had 5 of those schools that moved over 100 points based on the Mississippi accountability model. So that was CT3 alone. And that was for the real-time teacher coaching and the real-time leadership coaching. For our other lead partners, we're talking about math, science, kindergarten through 2nd grade ELA, and specifically math for Smith. So for Kirkland Group, for all of the teachers who received support, 67.25% of those teachers had students whose performance increased. For Kirkland Science Support, 68% of those teachers had students whose performance increased. Kids First, for those teachers receiving support, 66.12% of those had students with performance that increased. And we're using benchmark data when I'm talking about these lead partners. And then for Pamela Franklin at Smith, 50% of those teachers had students whose performance increased. And this is benchmark data from last school year.
Was it the third benchmark? Benchmark 3?
From first benchmark to third benchmark.
First to third. Okay. Oh, that's how you measure the increase.
Yes.
Okay. Great.
And at some point, we'll be able to map the lead partners' performance and support of specific schools and students and teachers to the MAP data.
Yes.
But we just can't yet do that.
Right. No, I think, again, I really appreciated the data that were shared, and then also in the prep materials, too. I mean, these weren't the only entities that bid for these opportunities. The district, this was a data-driven decision, and it's great to, again, I mean, it's what we want to see, and so strong partners, and again, thank you for the data.
Just want to acknowledge that Kendra Shipman from CT3 is actually here, who's been a partner to the district over some years and wanted to be here to answer any questions that any additional questions we might have.
I did make down one note about CT3. In your remarks, you mentioned the 30% increase in time on task, and then with principals, an 18%. Is that the effect of train the trainer, not effectively what, so did the principals then use the methods that CT3 had implemented?
That's correct, and Ms. Shipman can speak more to that.
Great. Good evening.
Make it worth the trip.
So the difference between the coaching is that the principals are coaching less consistently because we're also coaching them on other leadership behaviors and outcomes for their schools. And then but they are using the same method, but just a shorter version so that they can get more impact in.
Great.
And you're also coaching coaches
Yes.
to support other teachers in becoming more effective.
So the real-time teacher coaching is the coaching of coaches, and that's the 30% increase in on-task behavior. And like I said, that's because they're coaching more consistently. And actually, we had 8 of our 12 Jackson coaches coach more than 25 cycles, and they coached across over 80 teachers.
Great. So really, I mean, what's exciting about that to me is you can hear the sustainability strategy. Not that we don't appreciate approving CT3 contracts year after year, but I hear a long-term strategy for how we build this capacity. We institutionalize it.
Yes, and that's our goal as an organization. We joke that we try to work ourselves out of the contract because we want to leave you with the knowledge and the capacity in your team.
Great, thank you. Board members, are there any other questions?
I had one question that may not, I don't know who fields it, but this may be a function of the RFP, which I didn't have a chance to review. Is there a reason it stops in middle school? And does it continue into high schools?
Can you repeat that question?
Is there a reason, when I looked at the school list for who is supported by EduServe and CT3, it's elementary and middle only, as far as I could find it?
And for CT3 and high schools, yes.
Where are those lists? Do we have those on when I looked at the executive summary or whatever, that's where I saw that. That's what I was asking. That I was just wondering whether those could transfer up to high schools, but it sounds like they're doing it. So, great.
And that's for both the leadership coaching and the teacher coaching.
So, and that may be the difference because we have 2 RFPs. We had to present it that way. So the one for 09 is for leaders, and so you may see high schools listed on that executive summary, and then on the second one for teachers, you may see a different combination.
Great.
So if you look on the executive summary for RFP 2023-09, we do have the high schools listed there, and that's for the real-time leadership coaching.
I promised somebody before I started that my role on the board was to ask dumb questions, so.
It's not dumb.
Just for clarity, Attorney Turner, at the last minute, they called because CT3 was actually supposed to be on the 2309 or 10, CT3.
Both.
Okay.
They have,
So,
yeah.
but there were 2 different executive summaries,
Yes.
I think, and one did not get uploaded because she didn't call till like 5 o'clock. And so it's on the real lifetime, but on the printed documents, it didn't come over. So it didn't get uploaded. The 23, the CT3 executive summary did not get uploaded, just the other one for the
09. Gotcha.
Yes.
So maybe
Is that
that's
the
why
one you
you're not seeing
emailed?
it.
And it's
Okay.
on the CT3. It didn't get uploaded at all. So we approved it, so we had to change the title. No documents were added, because when Attorney Turner sent it over, they sent them all over as one. So I uploaded it as 22, what is this year?
23.
Yeah, 03-10. So my title just changed, but I didn't add any documents, and that's one document we were missing, which is another executive summary.
It might make it easier if you just go to the contract itself. For the documents that are in board materials, the CT3 contract, there's an appendix B. That's page 8 of 8, and there's a listing of all the schools, and the high schools are listed on that page, showing you the number of days of service. So it's in the contract.
Got it. Thank y'all.
Any additional questions, board members? All right. What's your name again?
Kendra Shipman.
Dr. Shipman?
Not doctor yet.
Mrs. Shipman. All right. Well, thank you for coming all this way. Thank you for presenting the information.
Thank you.
All right, board members, is there a motion to approve?
I so move.
Second.
Ms. Hilliard has moved, Mrs. Thompson has seconded. All in favor? Aye. The motion carries. Thank you, Dr. Scott. Next, we have the request to approve RFP 2023-06, the District Benchmark Informative Assessment Services. Dr. Kimberly Smith will present this information. She is our Executive Director of the Office of Teaching and Learning.
Good evening to President Seebeck, our board members, Dr. Green, to our JPS family and community. The administration is presenting for information action approval to award RFP 2023-06, District Benchmark Informative Assessment Services for kindergarten through 8th grade, and high school to education material specialists. There was a question around contract renewal. This would be a new assessment vendor. This year is chosen by our evaluation committee. Both of the previous vendor as well as this vendor use the same assessment banks. However, the assessment platforms are different, and the recommended vendor's reporting platform would yield more concise reporting.
Thank you, Dr. Smith. Board members, are there any additional questions of Dr. Smith? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
I so move.
Second.
Ms. Hilliard has moved, Mr. McGuffey has seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The motion carries. Thank you, Dr. Smith. The next four items are requests to approve the canceling and releasing of a 16-section lease agreement. So, Dr. Burke, we'll just ask you to present all four of those requests, and we'll take them up as one.
Yes, sir. President Seebeck, Superintendent Green, JPS family and friends. We have four items. First item is relevant to I-20 corridor. The administration recommends that the Board of Trustees approve canceling and releasing the 16-section agreement between Jackson Public Schools and Coach Light Inn. This is necessary to cancel this lease due to the fact that the lessee has opted not to renew after expiration of May 21. Secretary of State has certified non-payment of taxes, and all personal property has been removed from this property. The second item is a recommendation to the Board of Trustees to approve and cancel and release 16-section lease agreement between Jackson Public School District and Deep South Spring and Blade for property also in the I-20 corridor due to non-payment of the annual rent amount. The lease agreement was set to expire in 2032. The lessee has thus far failed to pay rent this past year and has an outstanding balance of about $14,000. After reviewing the tax rolls, it was found that the property taxes were paid for 2022. The rent amount is unpaid despite repeated attempts, including certified letters offering payment options. As a result, 16-section, the administration recommends that the lease agreement be canceled and released, and authorization be given to take all appropriate steps to reclaim the premises. Item number 3, also related to the I-20 corridor, the administration recommends that the Board of Trustees approve canceling and releasing the 16-section lease agreement between Jackson Public Schools and Metro Tower Services due to non-payment of annual rent of $17,000. This lease agreement was set to expire in 2029. The lessee to date has failed to pay rent for the past 2 years, resulting in a total amount due of $24,000. After a review of the tax rolls, it was found that the property taxes have not been paid since 2021. The rental amount remaining is unpaid despite repeated attempts, even an attempt up until today for the lessee to come current. So therefore, we're also recommending this be canceled and released, and authorization be given for us to take possession of the premises. And then finally, item number 4, also in the I-20 corridor, the administration recommends that the Board of Trustees approve canceling and releasing the 16-section lease agreement between Jackson Public Schools and Moran Canvas Products. The Jackson Public School Trustees declared this lease in default due to non-payment back in January 2011. However, we cannot find any record that this was recorded with the Chancery Clerk's Office, so this is actually a record cleanup opportunity. Chancery Clerk has removed the lease from its land rolls. The Secretary of State has certified non-payment of taxes, and all personal property has been removed from the land. Those are the 4 leases I'm presenting. I'll take any questions, comments, and/or criticisms.
Thank you, Mr. Burke.
Yes,
Any
sir.
questions, board members?
I have a really easy question.
Yes, sir.
Do we take steps to go after non-payment issues on back rent owed?
So,
or is it too much sugar for a dime and it's not worth it?
That's part of it. We have not up until this point. Dr. Green and I have talked extensively about how to improve our 16th section process. That's just one more step we've got to take. The lease calls out that the amounts owed are, once the amounts, we have a responsibility to bring it to you within 60 days to determine, to make a recommendation to you of next actions. And typically the action is to cancel the lease. What we're finding is that in some cases, historically, that step may have been taken, but we're also having challenges on the Chancery Clerk side of getting things registered and the process being followed through. So now as we dig more into this, we're finding that in the cases like this last lease, the steps were taken, but then no further steps, paperwork was sent, not retrieved. So we've got to get to the point. So back to your original question, we don't have a current process to do that. We take possession of the property, we go out and clean it up, we make sure that they've taken their property, and we make an attempt to release. We haven't really gone after lessees for amounts owed.
We've also turned over, just for your information, we've also turned over personnel and restructured in the last couple of years to shift the responsibility over 16th section land, and have done quite a bit of cleanup. This last item here is more of that. So a lot of this is us building the system to get true to the leases and what's owed to us.
Thank you, Dr. Green. Thank you, Mr. Burke. Board members, is there a motion to approve items J, K, L, and M?
Yes, so moved.
Dr. Harrison has moved. Is there a second? Ms. Hilliard is seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Berg. Next, we have our consent agenda items for finance. All the consent agenda items have been reviewed by the board previously, and we've had an opportunity to ask questions of the administration. Are there any further questions? If not, board members, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Thompson has moved. Ms. Hilliard is seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The motion carries. Next, we have the consent agenda item for personnel. All the consent agenda items have been reviewed by the board previously, and we've had an opportunity to ask questions of the administration. Are there
Dr.
any?
Sivak, excuse me, did you skip general?
Probably. This is the consent agenda item, board members, that I'm asking you to approve. Thank you, Ms. Williams. All of the consent agenda items have been reviewed by the board previously, and we've had an opportunity to ask questions of the administration. Are there any further questions? If not, board members, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda for general items?
I so move.
Second.
Ms. Hilliard has moved. Mr. McGuffey has seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The motion carries. Next, we have the consent agenda items, personnel. All the consent agenda items for personnel have been reviewed by the board previously, and we had an opportunity to ask questions of the administration. Are there any further questions? If not, board members, is there a motion to approve?
I so move.
Second.
Ms. Hilliard has moved. Mrs. Thompson has seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The motion carries. Okay, board members, there is not any consideration of executive session, so is there a motion to adjourn?
I so moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right, Mrs. Thompson has moved, Mr. McGuffey has seconded. All in favor? Aye. The motion carries. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Hurry, let me find something else.
Night.